Welcome to From the Shed End podcast with myself, T.Dot. As always, thank you very much for joining me. Now, before we get into the content, as always, please subscribe to the channel and also let me know your thoughts in the comments as well. And if you haven't done so already, go and check out Spotify or Apple Podcasts. There is a link in the description with all our social accounts on as well. So make sure you click that link and follow the social accounts as well. Now, before we get into yesterday's game, let's start with the transfer news first of already. You will have noticed that Wesley Fofana has been very active over the last 24 hours in terms of his move. Fabrizio Romano is another reliable source who has come out and said that the deal is almost done. I think this morning we got a here we go. Fofana is due to have his medical this afternoon at Cobham, or complete the best part of it anyway. I think there's a couple of other things to sort out in between that, but Wesley Fofana is almost a Chelsea player, and my God, did we need him yesterday. It was definitely a massive gap in defence for us yesterday. Massive addition. I think the fees around 70 million, including add-ons as well. I think in the grand scheme of things, you know, Leicester were holding out for this sort of deal, the way that it's structured, and it probably suits both clubs as well. Obviously, for Leicester, you know, you don't want to have a player there that's uninterested for playing for the club, or is causing issues at the club as well, by the sound of things, for the manager, who's already under a lot of pressure with the way that Leicester has started their season. So I think for both club, Chelsea and Leicester, I think it works now. We've got our centre-back that we needed. Hopefully it means no more Reece James at right centre-back. We can put him back in his natural position, and I felt he did really well yesterday, back in a natural position, but we'll get onto that shortly. There's still a lot to do. There's still a lot in terms of transfers from now until Thursday, in my opinion. We still need to look at our midfield. We still need to think about how and who can we bring into that midfield, because if one thing that yesterday was proven, when we don't have Kante, we don't have Kovacic in the team, it shows a lot of weaknesses and gaps in our midfield. I can't stress how much we need to bring in we don't even need to bring in a midfielder. We have midfielders, in my opinion, that can do a job. Ethan Ampadu, Billy Gilmore should be starting ahead of Conor Gallagher in a pivot with Jorginho or whoever, but we're going to get onto that. We're going to get onto that right now. Leicester 2-1. Brilliant performance in some ways, but there's so many red flags. So many red flags. Let's start with Thomas Tuchel, who was banned for the game. He was in the stands, said he had a perfect view of the game. He had nice people sitting around him. Brilliant. The lineup was very, very, very suspicious of someone who doesn't trust Ethan Ampadu and Billy Gilmore to do a job that realistically they can actually do. We got to see what Conor Gallagher was about in a pivot with Jorginho against Leeds. Clearly never worked. Defensively, both of them defensively are not good enough to play a pivot, a double pivot. They're not good enough. We've seen that already. Jorginho has no positional awareness when it comes to pressing or closing down or understanding where he should be when Leicester have the ball. There was too many times yesterday where he was just leaving gaps, pockets of space for Leicester to run into and to try and do something. And I think Conor Gallagher, let's just start with Conor Gallagher. Let's start with Conor Gallagher. The first yellow is clumsy. It's almost, I don't understand it. The second yellow card is even worse, because I think people looking at the game in real time, they were telling me, you know, he had no option. He was last man. You know, Vardy was through on goal. Two things. I think, first of all, he wasn't through on goal, because I think Trevor Chalobah is right next to Jamie Vardy, who would have caught him. I think Cucurella was going back. I think there was THIAGO, Silva, Cucurella, Trevor Chalobah and Conor Gallagher. So it's almost 4v1. You expect out of one of those four Chelsea players to get back and to challenge Vardy. And in hindsight as well, I mean, a one-on-one doesn't guarantee you a goal. He still has to beat the goalkeeper. And that red card, it just shows me that Conor Gallagher, how is Billy Gilmore not even given a number this season and potentially moving out on loan when we have a player in Billy Gilmore, in my opinion, that can do the job that we're asking Conor Gallagher, who can't do the job. This is 2 games now that we've seen with Conor Gallagher, and he hasn't performed at the level that we need him to. And this is against mediocre teams. This isn't, no disrespect to Leeds and Leicester, but we're not playing Liverpool. We're not playing Manchester City. We're playing teams that we should be comfortable, be able to deal with the high press of Leeds or deal with the physicality of Leicester. We should be able to deal with these issues. But with Conor Gallagher, it was just another head. I mean, the first half in Leeds, headless chicken moments were evident to see. But we got to see for 28 minutes against Leicester, the fact that Thomas Tuchel is playing Conor Gallagher alongside Jorginho, which leaves Jorginho vulnerable at times when we don't have the ball. It's just criminal. It's criminal as a manager to do that when you've got Ethan Ampadu, you've got Billy Gilmore in the squad, but you had Ethan Ampadu on the bench. So for me, Ampadu has to start in the next game against Southampton. He has to start now. Kovacic, I mean, when he came on, he done really well. I was impressed with him. Thomas Tuchel said on Friday that he was going to be given 20 minutes or so. I think he got about 15 plus stoppage, but he done well. We know what Kovacic is about, but I feel like we're rushing Mateo Kovacic back from an injury that he hasn't really recovered from last season. If you think back to the back end of the season, the FA Cup final, he was strapped up heavily with an injury. And I just think we're rushing him back because we know that there's a gap in midfield. So your 2 options are, as a Chelsea manager, you either go out and buy a CDM, a defensive midfielder, or you utilise the players that we have in the squad, which is Ethan Ampadu or Billy Gilmore. Because realistically, we're not going to keep N'Golo Kante, we're not going to keep Mateo Kovacic fit all season. It won't happen. It just can't happen. They don't play full seasons back to back, and they're going to pick up injuries. So we need to bring someone in that can do the job well and support Jorginho in that midfield. Or your other option is to put 3 midfields, which I feel like Mason Mount tried to do at times. I feel like he drifted in to be that 3rd midfielder against Leicester. But I have to go on to Mason Mount because this is going to probably, again, ruffle feathers in the Chelsea fan base, but we have to start talking about Mason Mount and talking about the fact, yes, he is the Chelsea, the one that's been put on a pedestal by Chelsea fans, rightfully so at times. He's carried the team at times over the last couple of seasons, but when he's not playing well, we have to pick that out as well. We have to talk about Mason Mount because it's been a couple of games now, and the back end of last season and in pre-season, he's been quiet. He's been ghost. We haven't really got to see Mason Mount. And that's whether that's because he's been playing so many games and it's a fatigue thing, a fitness thing, or just whatever Thomas Tuchel's asking him to do. Is it something different that he's adapting to his style of football? I don't know. But Mason Mount was poor again against Leicester, and there's not many times you hook off Mason Mount at half-time. Yes, it was tactical because of the red card, but at the same time as well, Mason Mount is someone that should be creative and should be able to make things happen and, feed in balls to aheemSterling or to Kai Havertz. And, I've said it on here before, I've said it on here many occasions, he should not be a part of a front. He should not be right wing. He should not be right wing. He should not be anywhere near that front 3. He should be behind Kai Havertz and aheemSterling, or he should be in the midfield. He should be in the midfield. That is where he's going to do most of his work. And I felt like yesterday was just another one of those sort of, where is Mason Mount? Where is he? Because he wasn't doing anything that was effective on the pitch. And it's not just Leicester. It wasn't just Leeds. This has been going on for a while now. So we have to start questioning, does he need to be dropped? Does he need to be rested? Do we need to change something tactically as well? Do we need to go back to a back 4? There's so many questions that need answering. And I think we're at a point now where if we don't bring anyone in by Thursday, which the likelihood is we won't, in terms of midfielders, but if we don't, then we have to utilise the squad that we've got. And we've got, like I said, Ethan Ampadu, Billy Gilmore, Trevor Chalobah can even play in that role as well. It's just, there was just so many gaps in that team. Leicester were very sort of unlucky not to capitalise on the first half. They had a lot of chances, especially to the back end of the first half. Mendy pulled off a couple of good saves. I think one literally at the end of the first half. But let's talk about the second half. I thought aheemSterling, again, carries the team. He's the only one we've been missing this player that can actually take players on and shoot. I mean, the amount of times yesterday, you know, Ruben Loftus-Cheek had opportunities. You know, he should be scoring them, whether he's a midfielder or not, or he's playing on the right wing or wherever he's playing. But he has opportunities to score and he doesn't take them as well. And he's not just the only one. There's other players in the team that just don't take their chances and they don't shoot. You know, and I think Raheem, you know, when he took his shot, he took a very wicked deflection for the first one, but it shows he's willing to take on players and take a chance to shoot and score. Brilliant goal. I thought, you know, it was a really good goal. Brilliant way to open your account as a Chelsea player. But it's you know, when you think about how much we're missing that and how just the basic things of someone actually taking a shot and scoring a goal is something that is rare to us. It shows how many issues there are at Chelsea as well. Second goal, I thought was brilliant. The link-up play was brilliant, you know, and to see someone in the box, again, this is another issue that I feel that we have based off the games that we've played so far this season, is there's hardly anyone in the box. So we're talking about, you know, Cucurella and Reece James and Ruben Loftus-Cheek and all these players that are providing balls into the box, but there's no one in the box. And it was rare. I was surprised to see aheemSterling in the box waiting for the ball. You know, he timed it well. You know, he's got the quality to do that. And I think we need to do that more often. We need to do that. We need to have players in the box that can actually do something rather than just sort of just stand around or on the edge of the box or not be anywhere near the attacking third, which is sometimes what happens. And then it's just not good enough. It's not good enough. I know we won. I know we got 3 points, but I thought we were lucky. I thought again, you know, the second half, there was moments in the game where you thought Leicester, you know, the last 15-10 minutes of the game, Leicester were definitely pressing and knocking on the door to try and get a goal. Very, very unlucky. You know, when they got their goal, I think it was Maddison that scored. I mean, again, you know, I think it was a good goal to take from Leicester's point of view, but Mendy being beaten at his near post, you know, you expect him to get a hand on that. You expect him to attempt to save that, or, you know, getting beaten the way he did. It's just, again, another red flag for me that, you know, we've got all these players who show, you know, levels of quality at times, but they don't show it consistently. Jorginho doesn't show it consistently. Mendy doesn't show it consistently. One player I do have to pick out who I thought was the Rolls Royce, let's have it right, 38 years of age, Thiago Silva. Where would we be without Thiago Silva? Because there's so many things that he does on and off the ball, so many last-ditch tackles. He reads the game well. It's almost like he wrote the Bible for football. He's that good. He's one of these players that just doesn't stop. You know, he went down injured with some sort of muscle cramp or muscle strain, continued to play, very similar to the FA Cup final, and he just doesn't stop. He doesn't stop. He knows where to be. He knows what the dangers are, you know, defensively as attacking build-up is being played through by Leicester. He knows where to be, and that is so crucial. You know, he helped Trevor Chalobah, in my opinion, in a number of occasions for that reason, because of how he reads the game. And, you know, I think we would be lost without him. Yes, we're bringing in Wesley Fofana. We lost a massive gap in losing Rudiger as well, but for me, he's a warrior. You know, there's not many world-class defenders that could play that level at this level at this age in the Premier League, because it's just unheard of. There's not many that will be playing close to 40 years of age in the Premier League and still putting in a shift and still doing as much as he does, you know, for a club. But my only worry again with Thiago Silva, we're talking about someone who's 38. There were signs last season that he clearly can't play a full season week in, week out. So you do have to hope that, you know, obviously once Wesley Fofana is announced and comes in, whether that's before Tuesday's game against Southampton, but we do need to sort of rest Thiago Silva, in my opinion. We've got some massive games coming up. The Champions League fixtures have now been announced as well. So there's so many, there's so many things that we just need to consider when we talk about some of these players. You know, the likes of aheemSterling. We need to wrap those players that are key to us in bubble wrap and hope that we can get them through the season, with the World Cup in between it as well. So some massive pluses to take from the game. You know, I thought there were some brilliant pluses, but there's so many gaps, so many gaps, and hopefully with Gallagher being suspended for the next game, it does give the opportunity for someone to come into that midfield. Whether it's Kovacic, who's the most likely because he got minutes on Saturday. But for me, I mean, I don't understand what does Billy Gilmore have to do? What does Ethan Ampadu have to do to get into this squad, to be given an opportunity? Armando Broja should be playing ahead of Kai Havertz, who again, for me, was non-existent at times during the game. You know, he had spells where he tried to do things, or he'd make the space for, I think he made the space for Sterling a couple of times to attempt to take a shot, but he doesn't do it consistently enough. And this is, again, another thing, the consistency just isn't there. You know, the team, yes, we've got a couple of injured players, but the team, you just don't know what team Thomas Tuchel's going to come out with. And for me, that's a worry, because we don't have a natural squad. We don't have a first team 11 that you know is going to do well. There's no cohesion amongst the team still. 3 years into the team, there's no cohesion, and that's a worry for me. So this season's going to be, for me now, it's not a rebuild, but it's definitely a transitional moment in the club where we need to offload the Ross Barkleys and the Baba Rahman still. We need to bring in these players that we have done, Sterling, Cucurella, hopefully Wesley Fofana, Koulibaly, obviously when he comes back from his suspension, and we need to get them to work and blend them into this squad and get the best out of them. And if you're not playing well, Mason Mount, Kai Havertz, Jorginho, you have to be dropped. You have to be dropped from this squad. You have to be dropped. There's no other, whether you're Chelsea's star boy or, you're this or you're that, you have to be dropped. And only when you're performing at the level that Thomas Tuchel and the club and the fans need you to perform at, do you come back into the squad? It's as simple as that. And there's some people that won't have a bad word said about Mason Mount, but let's be honest, when was Mason Mount's last decent game? It's there in front of us. The proof is in the pudding. So lots to take from the game. Big game coming up again on Tuesday. Massive one against Southampton. More of the same, but I think we just need to up the quality in certain areas. And like I said, I think it'll be a massive difference if Mateo Kovacic is back in the squad, or Ethan Ampadu, who I keep shouting out on here, gets an opportunity. But it'll be interesting to see who Thomas Tuchel goes with. Is Wesley Fofana going to be a done deal by then as well? So there's a lot to happen over the next couple of days. And obviously, deadline day is Thursday. So let's see. We'll be doing some sort of special on that, hopefully, depending on who we're being linked to closer to the time. So we might do a YouTube live for that, so make sure you stick around and keep your eyes peeled for it. But as I said at the start of this video, subscribe to the channel. Let me know your thoughts in the comments about yesterday's game as well, and also who, if anyone, are you looking forward to seeing coming through the doors at Chelsea in the next couple of days with the transfer deadline day. This has been T.Dot from the Shed End podcast. Until next time, thank you very much for watching and stay safe.